What's up, guys? So we're gonna go over a, I guess a dirty RV session I did from back in 2024 before the election. A few about what was it 4 5 months 4 5 months before the yeah, about 5 months before the election. I did this RV session. And only reason I'm posting this is because it was I just came across this. I did it and I forgot that I even did it. So I did this and then I had it in the book and I went on. I forgot until I was just kind of doing the RV session today, and I flipped through the book and I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, some interesting stuff in here. And so the target, it was like a dirty RV session, not clean, because I knew the I know what the target is. So in RV, you generally only have a number like 4648. You don't know what the target is. So in this one, I made up the target myself, so I knew what it was. The target was time and date of a military attack on Texas, year, month, season, temperature, any time markers for safe travel before strike. And so, just trying to get some information that might pertain to, like, let's say, Texas in World War III. And so it was interesting. I was just fucking around, it was just an experiment, right? So I did this, as you can see, on June 2nd, 2024. Now, this was before Trump was elected. Now, I was trying to draw some stuff, didn't really get anything. Um, but then on my verbals and my textual verbals, I was just writing shit down under analytical overlay column where I just write stuff. Kind of the trash can, but I just kind of write stuff, and then interesting stuff will happen. Because sometimes you don't get visuals, sometimes you get words, etc., text as opposed to words, and then so I wrote shoot, fire, building, June, July, end of June, and then I wrote July 4th, which is interesting because the day is July 4th. And when I did this, it was June of last year. And then I wrote Monday, dark night. And then I wrote, I think that was early morning. And then I wrote Denver. And then, I don't know, I wrote 2024. So I think that's what I got there. So yeah, so stand by. Let me pull up that other page. And I'll go over that real quick. All right, guys. So this is the other page, which where it gets interesting. So on the other page, the last page, I was kind of just scribbling some stuff, and I wrote Biden out, Harris in, Trump gone, election rigged, Harris wins election, civil war, no, I wrote civil unrest begins, dollar collapse, and then I wrote civil war, world war, and that was the session, and I just ended it. And so I thought that was an interesting session. I don't think. Let me make sure I didn't have anything else written on it. Nope. That was it. So, uh, yeah, and what I found interesting when I look back at it was that Biden was out. They kicked Biden out and Harris in. So I got that right. And then I wrote Trump gone. Well, that's not right yet, but I think that's going to be right. Hold that thought on Trump gone. I think that's coming up very soon. Election rigged. Harris wins. Election no. That was nothing. That was a nothing burger. And then I wrote civil unrest begins, dollar collapse, civil war, world war. Now, what's interesting about number 7, where I was just writing some shit down. I wrote dollar collapse. The dollar has just actually collapsed by 11%. And I published a story showing that. That's a fact. It's not me. It's an independent fact. From So the dollar is collapsing. Um, so yeah, the dollar is starting to collapse by about 11%, or let's say went down, hasn't collapsed. The collapse would be probably 30% drop in the dollar. At that point, I could say dollar collapse. But Biden was thrown out. Harris was put in. So 1 was correct, 2 was correct. 7 is actually correct, and because it's going to continue to fall. Another 10-20%, and that will be dollar collapsing. Civil unrest. I think with the issues with the ICE and all the protests, we can say we're seeing civil unrest. So that would be correct. Uh, um, Trump gone is coming. I believe that's coming this month or next month, but it's coming. Election rigged, Harris wins. So those two things were nothing burgers, which that happens in this kind of thing. But what's interesting is the what I did get right, and so I thought that part was I nailed it that Joe Biden would be gone, and like I said, I forgot about this. It was in a book, and so um, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Like I said, in the first page in the AOL, it came up with some. It's like June, July, end of June, July. I'm not sure. I guess there's going to be some events June, July. I don't know if it's this June or July or upcoming June or July. I think we're going to have some interesting events in July of 2025 right now. So, yeah, let's look out for that. Will these events take place? I don't know. Maybe a little premature, but I think we're leading up to these events very quickly. Um, Now, just take this with a grain of salt because I've been wrong before. But like I said, there are some things in this session that I did get right, and the fact that Biden will be out and Harris will be in. And I wrote this in June 2024, just for you know for documentation purposes, which was before the election. And then yeah, like I said, and we have. It's funny. I wrote June, July, and we are hitting that dollar collapse right around June and July. Um, that's going on right now, and we're seeing the civil unrest. So those things will probably lead into a civil war and then world war. Will you see those in July? I don't think so, but I think you'll see. Like I said, look out for some issues with Trump, um, and probably civil unrest picking up. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I thought it was an interesting session. Thought I'd go over it, but that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching.